Let me explain why BSV is producing these wins. The first critical element about BSV's plan is rather simple. It's massive scaling. It's trusting the original Bitcoin design launched by Satoshi 10 years ago actually works. Instead of mucking around with its design, trying to create alternate copycat blockchains that do not scale, we're supporting massive scaling on the original Bitcoin design. The BTC network became crippled artificially by the Bitcoin core developer groups who have kept its block cap small at 1 megabyte in size. So adding a block of transactions about every 10 minutes with only a megabyte of data means you have a slow network. Gaming operators have seen this. On the legacy BTC network, you can only average 3 transactions a second, or at maximum 7 transactions a second. That can never compete with the scale of a global payment network like Visa, which does 2,000 transactions a second on average and 56,000 transactions a second at peak periods. The iGaming industry in particular needs a payments network if it's going to be blockchain or cryptocurrency based that can handle fast payments. That's not happening on BTC, and it's why you're seeing more operators drop support for BTC as a payment alternative. That's because they do not believe in the original vision of Bitcoin. This is the white paper which introduced Bitcoin to the world in 2008 and then released into the blockchain in 2009. It defined Bitcoin to be a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, meaning the transactions had to be fast, cheap in transaction fees, and instantaneous. But that is not what has happened on BTC Bitcoin Core. By locking the block size so small, they crippled the network and are creating a fake alternative narrative that Bitcoin's only supposed to be a store of value system, and that the design of Bitcoin to create this global electronic cash system does not work. But that's not what Satoshi Nakamoto envisioned, not a store of value system, but a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. That's why other blockchain projects like Ethereum emerged, trying to create smart contract and token capabilities, but they too are running into scaling problems. Vitalik Buterin recently acknowledged publicly that the Ethereum blockchain is almost full, that businesses cannot newly onboard onto Ethereum, and that's why they are desperately trying to complete and launch Ethereum 2.0 to solve the scaling problems Ethereum is facing now. It's also what's happening in the EOS system, as we've seen recently with the announcement by a company I'll talk about later, which said EOS is congested and is not solving the problems either. Bitcoin SV, however, is solving those problems. We started not with a 1 megabyte block size, but not 32 megabyte block size, which is on Bitcoin Cash, but at 128. And this July increased the block cap on BSV to a default of 2 gigabytes. That's over 2,000 megabytes. What does that mean? It means that miners can mine much bigger blocks with more transactions. Most of the miners are now setting at 256 megabytes to allow the network time to adjust to this bigger block capacity. And that is still so much larger than the other blockchain projects. And we've already seen 2 world record blocks mined on BSV in July of this year at that full 256 megabyte in size on the main network. We've also been testing much bigger blocks on the Bitcoin SV scaling test network. In July of this year, a stress test resulted in 12 consecutive blocks on the scaling test network of the full 2 gigabyte in size, proving that Bitcoin can scale and can always have scaled with its original design. On the scaling test network, we have been doing much more work since a reset of it just less than a month ago. We've been seeing blocks mined with 2.7 to 4 million individual transactions within a block. That is the scale you need. In addition, since the scaling test network was reset in less than a month, over 1.4 billion transactions have resulted in the BSV scaling test network. That is almost 3 times what the Bitcoin core network has done on its mainnet in 10 years of existence. But that's because we believe Bitcoin can scale. At 2 gigabyte blocks, you have theoretical capacity of over 9,000 transactions a second. And we believe in even bigger, no limit, just the way Satoshi always intended, and let miners accept what block sizes they want based on economic forces. And our team is thus working on a plan to create a world of terabyte-sized blocks. That is 1 million megabytes, meaning blocks can hold billions of Bitcoin transactions and have capacity of millions of transactions a second. So the Bitcoin network becomes not just a payment system, but a data ledger to power all kinds of applications of the future. And that's why we are scaling to be the global digital currency on Bitcoin SV. It also means, which is very important for the gaming industry, low and reliable fees. The Bitcoin Core Network has had weird spikes in fees, including when the crypto buying craze hit in January of 2018, hitting $40 at one point to send a single BTC transaction. It's come down since then, but it's still wildly unpredictable. In May of this year, it was over $4 to send a BTC transaction. Just on November 5th of this year, it was $1.40. That's still far too high, and the unpredictability makes it difficult for businesses to plan. Ethereum recently had the same issue. Just days ago, Ethereum's network hit transaction fees for some random reason of $30 from its normal about 10 cents. This makes it almost impossible for any reliable business to reliably generate a business plan based upon blockchain transactions. Well, on Bitcoin SV, what is it? Because of our bigger block capacity, the average transaction fee now is less than 1/20th of 1 US cent. Less than 1/20th of 1 US cent to send a BSV transaction. And that means we can power micropayments and microtransactions where small amounts of money, 2 cents, 5 cents, 6 cents, are being sent based upon people's online activities, based on payments that have to get sent, and based on all kinds of application usage. The gaming world will also like that we have token capability on BSV because operators and developers love this. The leading protocol is called Tokenized. It's a team out of Australia that has provided a protocol to support over 50 different asset types of tokens based on real-world assets, shares, bonds, derivatives, loyalty points, reward points, utility coupons, and transportation tickets are just some of the examples. BitBoss is a company you'll hear from later this afternoon. It's a gaming technology company based out of the US that has built a great product on Bitcoin SV it's going to talk to you about. It is building for games, lottery, sportsbook, baccarat, and other casino games, a variety of technologies. But it is going to announce its Bridge product, which provides a link for casinos, inland casinos, their back end to a mobile wallet for players to be able to play using BSV or BSV tokens that is using the tokenized protocol to do. You'll hear more about that later. Finally, I want to emphasize that all of this leads to a much bigger future, which is that the Bitcoin network becomes the universal source one day for big data. The blocks are big, transaction fees are tiny, so we're seeing applications take advantage of this in BSV to stream and record data to the blockchain. So for example, Weather SV generates a large amount of transactions on the BSV blockchain. You can open up a weather channel, such as here in Malta, to record on an ongoing basis the weather conditions to permanently be recorded to the blockchain. You can do that for channels like my hometown of Seattle in the United States and create a marketplace for people to buy access to immutable weather data in the future. In addition, we're seeing this with financial data. A project out of China called Rate SV is allowing people to open up channels to record exchange rate data for stock, cryptocurrency, and other financial assets to be always available on the blockchain, publicly accessible, so it is a universal store of this type of financial data. So we're also seeing this creeping into the esports world. Chronoverse is a company out of the United States which has created an esports monetization platform that is trying to take better advantage of blockchain technology for competitive gaming. It has a game which is about to launch into closed beta next month called Crypto Fights. It's a Dungeons and Dragons type battle game where you create an avatar, you roll dice, and then you battle each other. It discovered the BSV blockchain and is using it to record all of the battle data, the individual moves by players, so that they are immutably and forever stored on the blockchain. You can recreate battles this way. play. You can study them, you can audit them, you can test them for fairness once they launch their endeavors into esports betting. They believe it is a powerful way to bring more fairness to the competitive world of esports as well as the betting on esports. All this means that when you take data, such as from this particular dice roll, and you record it to the blockchain, it means everyone can access that later. Instead of companies keeping their own pools of data for big data analysis, for all these industries, including iGaming, you can use the BSV blockchain to gather data for big data analysis. That is a future huge potential use of this blockchain technology to store sports events and player statistics, data for games of chance and skill, as well as esports data for both competitive normal play as well as wagering. That's because the blockchain is what Satoshi always intended it to be, a public, auditable, verifiable, and transparent ledger. That's all blockchain technology is. All this fancy stuff you hear about with people trying to create their own tokens and their own apps, it boils down to this simple truth. It is an auditable, transparent, verifiable ledger of data and transactions. And that means for the gaming industry, it can be used to address affiliate complaints about gaming operators shaving revenue share, manipulating statistics, detagging players. If the activities of games can be tracked on the blockchain, we have a more honest, trustworthy system for all, for operators, for players, for affiliates, and for the regulators who want regular and systematic auditing reports about the activities in a gaming ecosystem. Finally, I want to emphasize one big thing that's different about the BSV ecosystem that should resonate with the iGaming industry. We're trying to create a regulation-friendly ecosystem. Unlike other crypto camps, which were taken over by crypto anarchists, we believe in big business usage of Bitcoin. That means governments need to be comfortable with it. Regulators, such as the regulators here in Malta, need to be comfortable with use of Bitcoin, with iGaming and all other industries. It is a huge difference that we are advocating for. You'll learn about it more this afternoon. But all of these reasons are the reasons BSV is truly unlocking the true potential of blockchain, creating the wins for iGaming you all want, a faster, low-cost, efficient payment system, a method for doing smart contracts that is workable, that works at scale, that is regulation, ability to do tokens, smart contracts, decentralized applications, and everything else you ever dreamed of, all possible only on Bitcoin SV, delivering big wins today and in the future for iGaming. Thank you very much.